Politics, politics, politics. That's what we're summarizing in 2 episodes today. But don't worry, it's not just that. We had a little bit of Hollywood, we had a little bit of Native American history and painting and artistry, but also we got Arnold Schwarzenegger, baby, in one of our episodes. Welcome back, friends, to episode 14 of the podcast Summary Report. We got a good one today because we are summarizing 5 podcasts today, 5 videos for your enjoyment. So let's get right into it. First podcast today that we're summarizing is Patrick Bet David PBD Podcast, episode 410 with Vivek Ramaswamy. 1 hour and 36 minutes with 44 seconds, a little bit of politics. Second podcast is Jordan B. Peterson, episode 448 with Brett Cooper, with 1 hour and 37 minutes with 37 seconds. Then podcast number 3, PBD again, the home team. This one is episode 411 with 2 hours, 19 minutes and 15 seconds. Then we got Jocko. Jocko's back, but with Arnold Schwarzenegger, with episode 427 of the Jocko podcast, 2 hours and 17 minutes with 17 seconds. And finally, bringing it together, bringing it home, is the Joe Rogan Experience with Greg Overton with 1 hour and 57 minutes with episode 2150. That's today. That's what we're summarizing in episode 14. Podcast number 1 that we're summarizing is Vivek Ramaswamy in the PBD Podcast 410, right? So interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I like the guy. I like Vivek. This was an interesting conversation between PBD and Vivek. You know that PBD is a big fan. They talked about all sorts of things, politics, just his life after the campaign, his life after the being considered one of the top candidates for running mate for Trump's presidency in this 2024. So a lot of things got discussed. Who is the main top guy of the Republican Party to run for 2028? We haven't even gone through 2024 and they're already thinking of 2028. So Vivek is on top of that list. Everything got discussed, from the Trump trial, from BP candidacy, from Vivek's point of view, or who could be the best candidacy, on what could Vivek do in Trump's if Trump were to elect him in his cabinet. What would he do? How would he do the best impact in Trump's candidacy? Just everything along those lines. And it was quite interesting, quite a long conversation in that realm, only 1 hour and 37 minutes, but just how his vision of actually draining the swamp, the Washington swamp, the big government that we have right now. So it was quite refreshing just to see it, but I know this splits a lot of people, right? It's almost like 50-50. We're split right down the middle. So what I can say is enjoy the conversation. It is a very political podcast. It's you got a ex-political president candidate right there, right? So like I said, my friends, if you do not like politics, you can skip this episode. If you do not like a Republican conservative, you can skip this episode. You're probably not watching the PBD podcast if you don't like this type of content. So my recommendations to you is skip it if you don't like politics. Skip it if this gives you anxiety. But click on it if you like what's current events, the news, the Trump trial, the presidential nominees, the vice president for Trump, etc., etc., etc. You know what to do. You click on this episode 410, Vivek Ramaswamy, only 1 hour and 37 minutes. Pretty good episode. I liked it. I like how they both interact, and I'm a fan. So that is podcast number 1. Moving in, podcast number 2, Jordan B. Peterson. I love what he's doing. Not gonna lie. This is, if I can't recall, like number 2 actress that he's done in the last couple of episodes, right? He did Adrian Grenier on a previous episode, and now Brett Cooper. And Brett just very, very warm-hearted. I really enjoyed this conversation. You can see how Jordan is reaching out to a lot of actresses and actors from Hollywood in Hollywood or out of Hollywood, and asking them to share their experience. Because what you can see from Brett Cooper and how she started down that path, and why did she decide to be such a young age an actress, and her rest of her career, because you could technically say she's no longer in Hollywood, but she's still an actress because she's working for the Daily Wire. But how she became in the middle of that whole industry and then got out of it, got her followership, her fans in the Daily Wire, in the conservative side, in the her podcast. You can follow her podcast. I have it in the description link, but the her podcast in the comments section. She has millions of followers, and just having a feminine girl with a lot of followers that she feels that she is filling a void for that conservative thought of the for those girls, for those young girls that can align with her values, with her just way of thinking, right? This was a really short but well thought out episode for Jordan. Just asking those questions, just asking to Brett, why did you get to this? She actually got into acting because of a coping mechanism from a trauma that she had in your young life from losing a brother. So she just always found that very soothing to go down that path and just pretending she was somebody else. But you know what I seen from her was discipline from a very, very young age. Very, very bright individual, very smart. And she got a lot of self-confidence from her mother. Her mother was like just a protecting mama bear. She got her into self-defense classes. She was always right there with her, always supporting her, always like a shadow, just protecting her from that Hollywood environment. Because even Dr. Peterson asked, "Hey, are those rumors behind child actors true?" Oh, they're entirely true. You can see it in when you're there, and you don't have somebody protecting that young child. You can see how easily they can get manipulated, how easily they can go down those ugly, ugly rabbit holes. So it was quite an interesting conversation. If you like this type of content, just to get in the mind of an actor, I recommend it to you. I love just to listen how what I like about these is just how Dr. Peterson, how JBP asks the questions. I'm trying to learn from him. I'm trying to see how he just goes into a conversation, starts pulling those threads, and just has so much comfort asking just a person about their life. You can see the clinician in him. You can see the psychologist in him. So great conversation. I love the episode. I'll recommend it to you. All right, moving on. Podcast number 3, PBD, episode 411, the home team, 2 hours and 19 minutes. I said in the beginning, politics, right? Well, this is a little bit more of that. But this is, they go back into their bread and butter, which is the home team, the 4 guys, Vinny, PBD, Tom, and Vince, right? And Adam. But they go in and you start talking about a lot, just going into the economy again, how right now the statistics of the Americans is like not a good one because they're having such a hard time saving. Savings are at low records in quite some time, in quite many years. And they're like, of course, it's like everybody's having a hard time. Inflation's up, prices of the pumps are up, prices of the groceries are up. How are Americans going to save? But Adam said very interestingly to say, but this is not nothing new. Americans have always had a hard time saving their dollars because they're just we're a consumer society. We're a consumer community. We just like to buy things and buy now, pour later. They talked about how that's just a big scam, the buy now, pay later, and it's just they're trying to just recommend to their listeners to be able to take the right necessary steps to be able to be responsible so you can save your money, save your pennies, and just that builds a small little cushion. If you continue to create that habit that makes a bigger cushion, you save enough money, and then you can start making better decisions, investing or doing other things that might help you in the long run versus just spending every dollar you get. All right, you get they talked about how a hard time saving, and then right into the next story, which was defaults at a incredible danger right now. So many home notes are going to be in danger of defaulting. So another thing that's just going to impact the economy. Da 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 da. It just trickles down. The next domino. Which one's going to be the next domino to fall? Then a very interesting announcement that they said. Right. So if you've been following my podcast, my reports, my summary reports, in the last episode, I think like 2 or 3 episodes ago, they had Chris Cuomo. And Chris Cuomo was defending one of his videos when he attacked a Republican politician because he didn't want to get vaccinated. Then the next episode, another video resurfaced from Chris, and now the snowball's just getting a little bigger and bigger. When in this particular episode, Dave Smith challenged Chris Cuomo into a debate, and PBD is going to host it. Well, they made it official. These two individuals are going to host a debate. They're going to talk about their different approaches, and Chris is just going to put his feet on the fire, and then we're going to hold him accountable to that. So that's I'm looking forward to that next episode. Then finally, just they talked about more Trump stuff, a secret recording from Trump. It's if you want to listen to it, go click on it. But also one thing that I liked is they go over the viral speech commencement of Jerry Seinfeld in the Duke graduation ceremony. I personally went and looked at this speech commencement. It was awesome. I love Jerry Seinfeld. I'm a big fan of him, and just how he's just one of the biggest message that I got from his commencement speech, and I'll share it with you all, is don't forget about your humor. Do not forget about the humor. It's a big part of our human experiences. Lovely part. We can all just laugh at ourselves, laugh at others, laugh at this great world that we live in. And when we lose that humor, a bit of our happiness is going to die. So that's one of the things that I got from that one. And just they close out the podcast with a little bit of a scaring statistic, which is the birth rates in the world, how all the birth rates are declining across all the nations, and how you have some nations in Europe that are I think it was Denmark or not exactly sure which one it was. It slips my mind, but they were talking about if you have 4 kids in that nation. I'm gonna say it's Denmark, right? Maybe it's not, but let's say one of those northern Eastern Europe nations, then you don't pay any income tax anymore. First child, you don't pay 25% income tax. Second, you don't pay 50%. Third, 75%. Fourth, you don't pay anything at all if you have 4 kids. And you can see just the statistics from 1980 to today, only 40 years difference, how U.S. had an average of 3 or 4 kids. Mexico had an average of 5 kids. Brazil, Europe, and they have how just the birth rate all have steadily declined. And right now they're kind of averaging around two kids per those developed nations. But then you see Japan and South Korea, some of those would have less than 1 child as an average. So crazy numbers. Everybody's screaming on top of their lungs. This is not going to be able to maintain their current nations or current economies, etc., etc. You need a 2.16 or more average of childs in your family to be able to survive. So needless to say, right? So quite interesting. My recommendations to you is have kids, have fun, have a life, have family, and just interesting episode, right? If you like the stories, how they go into these stories and just dissect them, the home team recommended to you. If you don't like these types of stories, you don't have to click on it, because we got a good next episode. We got Jocko, podcast number 4, episode 4, Jocko Willings, with Echo Charles, of course, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold. And great episode 427, 2 hours and 17 minutes. Starts kind of funny. This is Jocko and Charles sitting. Jocko does a great introduction of Arnold and his history, his just what impact Arnold had on Jocko, etc. And he said, that would have been my intro, but we just got into his office and we just started talking. And then they cut through to that video, and you can see Arnold just sitting there right down the center. That's where the camera is, and you got Jocko on the side. But almost the entire podcast was focused on Arnold, and they talked about his story. They talked about how he was in the Austrian army and how that was wonderful to him. He talked about how he just won Mr. Universe at the age of 20, and how he had so many heroes in his life that helped him throughout this his career, right? But he also said, never listen to those naysayers. They told him that he wasn't going to win, and he won. They told him he wasn't going to be able to become an actor, then he won. But he wasn't going to be a household name, and he was able to do it. But you know how he linked every one of those about becoming Mr. Universe, about becoming being able to sell bodybuilding, how to become an actor, how he's just household name, how to become a governor in California. Every single one of those links was hard work. He was working 5 hours to become that Mr. Universe. And then when he stopped doing that, he talked about how he said, you know what? They told me I couldn't become an actor. Well, I'm going to put 5 hours of work into becoming an actor. And he did that, removing his accent, just acting classes, just everything. Arnold is such an amazing guy, has such an amazing character that I've always been a fan. I was watching his movies when I was a young kid, and just continue to be a pretty big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? So now, on the later part of the podcast, they're talking about just the vision, having a vision, pulling it all together at his late stage. They were talking about his book, and just able to understand. And his latest book is Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? I recommend it to you. I'm going to put the Amazon link on my description video. But just overall, the importance of understanding what you're good at, the value of hard work, and just being able to go attack your goals and having your vision. Because if you don't have a vision in your life, you're just going to wander off like when you throw an arrow, when you shoot an arrow, that arrow is pointing at a certain direction because it has a vision, is going that direction. But if you don't, imagine a wobbly arrow going through the wind, just falling and hitting the ground with no real purpose, right? So have a purpose, have a vision, work hard, go attack it. That was Arnold's message. That was Jocko's message. Great episode. I haven't even done my last episode, episode 5, Joe Rogan Experience. Out of my 5 episodes that I'm recommending right now, it's got to be the number 1. Jocko Podcast 427 with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Go click on it right now. All right, bringing it home. Last episode that we are summarizing today is Joe Rogan Experience, episode 2150 with Greg Overton. 1 hour and 57 minutes. I didn't even know who was Greg. And he's got a pretty good relationship with Joe. They had fun. They had a good conversation. Who is Greg? Greg is an artist of Native American paintings and sculptures and just amazing work. I'm gonna put some of the pictures as I describe his podcast with Joe, but they go into how he just became obsessed with the Native American culture, how from conversations with his grandfather and just getting to know just some of the life of these individuals that he has painted throughout his years. Red Eagle and others. It's just quite an interesting thought. And just if you do a quick Google search of Greg Overton and his paintings, oh my God, they're quite impactful. They're immersive. They're soul driven. They're like the pictures that he has of these individuals. It's just really amazing. And when I say pictures, I mean artistic drawings. But he talks about his young life and just how he got busted, how he was doing drugs at an early age, and he was always a rebel. And that rebellion, that going down a bad path was what, let's call it, eventually gave him his success. Because originally he told him, oh, you're never going to make it as an artist. Oh, you're never going to be able to make any money doing this. And he said, you know what? I am going to do it. he felt that he was always a rebel. I ain't gonna go do it. I'm gonna do what I love and do it every day. And now you can see it's just incredible what he's done. So they talked about all sorts of things: lobbyists, journalists, dogs, and men's best friends. He talks about nukes and UAPs. I feel that almost Joe talks about in a very common 3 hour podcast with a lot of different guests about UAPs and UFOs and all this, and what's the meaning of life and everything like that. But just an interesting conversation between both individuals. I like it. It's how he talks about also his spiritual introspective, how he has done ayahuasca, he's done just immerse himself in this type of culture, how he loves to learn from other cultures, not just the Native American cultures, but just others and all around, and just being a student of the world. I learned a lot. Did even a little bit of research on Greg's work, and I selected some of the most impactful images and put them in this video. You can see them, but it's just a great person, just giving honor to one of the cultures that the Native American culture that sometimes we don't give enough attention to. We don't give enough history about that, but just he respects them, follows them, draws them, and is really an admirer of that culture and others. So great conversation between Joe and Greg. Not your typical comedy comedian guest, but more just you can see like two friends. And Joe is a fan of Greg. Joe has an art piece of Greg, so Joe really admires him, and they're both the same age. I think Joe's 54 and Greg was like 55 or something like that, close in age. I might be wrong, but so they admire each other, and they just had fun in this episode. Well, that's it. Those were my 5 episodes. Hope you enjoy them. Like I said, number 1 to listen to is the Jocko 427 with Arnold. Go click on that. But if you don't, you got already a summary. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to click on my last 2 episodes and that subscribe button. If you like what you see, keep listening.